Hey everyone, Michael Terrell here, founder of Fourscore Solutions. Late last year, I had the opportunity to speak at Smartsheet ENGAGE, where I walked through something pretty unique. We broke down a 9-figure product launch that was run from a single spreadsheet. It's pretty crazy. And we covered how that chaos can be transformed into scalable solutions and playbooks that actually drive ROI. This isn't theory, it's not feature walkthroughs, it's about what breaks when spreadsheets hit their limits, and how do we build systems that make success repeatable. So in this session, I'll share 3 practical playbooks that you can apply immediately, how to think about governance and scale, and add a lightweight ROI framework to prove value fast. So if you're trying to launch and scale solutions quicker, then this is the one for you. And stick around to the end because we got something special to share. So let's jump in. Perfect. Everyone having a great time? Learning a lot?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I hope to provide even more value because I truly think this is one of the best sessions you're going to see. Seriously. We're going to cover a lot of stuff in a short period of time. We only have 92 slides to get through. So let's see how fast we can go. But today, what we're really focusing on is value within Smartsheet. We're going to cover a recent Guinness World Record launch that did over $100 million in revenue, all managed in Google Sheets. We're going to take a look at how we can take 3 core operational frameworks from that and convert them into Smartsheet Playbooks. We'll give you 3 playbooks, 1 ROI framework, and let's dive in. Now, I know you've seen this slide over and over again, but this one's going to be a little bit different because we're not going to cover any proprietary details from this launch because we're not really going to focus on who did it, but how they did it, and how we can take that same scale, complexity that you all face and convert it into Smartsheet so you can get speed, precision, and confidence with your workflows. So here's where we're going today. You'll see this little status bar with all these targets up top. Each one of these targets will represent where we're at in today's presentation. As we move further along, you'll see an axe come through and smash the bullseye. This is just to give you a sense of where we're going on our journey today. We'll start with the record-setting launch, then dive deeper into the Smartsheet Playbooks, then focus on value and how to build a business case, and then give you steps on how you can implement it back in the office. So real quick, who the heck am I, and why you might want to listen to me? Maybe not. Ask my wife. I'm Michael Terrell, founder of Fourscore Solutions, but you can call me Abe. We're the 2024 New Partner of the Year and Platinum Partners with Smartsheet. We work with Fortune 500 firms in healthcare, manufacturing, finance, you name it, we've probably done it. I've been using Smartsheet since 2013, and in that time, I was a research and development engineer in the automotive industry. I was one of 10 Mikes, which is crazy, but Mike's super common name. And so you would think they would just call me by my last name, but instead they called me Abe because I sat underneath the poster of Abraham Lincoln. And that poster hangs in my office today. Our goal at Fourscore Solutions is to embody that Abraham Lincoln ethos with being transparent, accountable, and delivering relentless effort towards results. Fourscore Solutions, score being 20 years, 4 of them 80 years, 80-year solutions or lifetime solutions. That's the ethos we try to embody. Let's get to the good stuff, a record-setting launch. So when I was putting this presentation together, I got to thinking, why are spreadsheets so critical in our operations? They've existed forever, and yet we still use them today. So I thought back to an early 90s commercial where these 2 people are frantically scrambling, trying to get a presentation together, and one guy's like freaking out, and the other guy's like, you know what, it's fine, I got it. I have the most easiest tool in the world to pull this presentation together, Microsoft Excel. And the whole commercial goes through all the benefits of Excel, and they're frantically going up the elevator, you're not gonna finish in time. And they finally do, and they present to the audience the executive report that they've been frantically putting together, and it looks like this. I mean, I think that looks sexy. That is some good stuff right there. But why is that? Spreadsheets feel familiar, flexible, and easy to use. You don't have to be a formula wizard to leverage them. But 35 years later, Spreadsheets are still at the core of our operations. A recent group took 18 months to plan a launch event. It did millions of dollars in ad spend that ramped up to $250,000 a day, over millions in registration, and hundreds of staff across various departments, all controlled within Google Sheet, what they would call the holy sheet. Funny thing is, it worked. $105 million in revenue, over 72 hours for their launch, over 3.6 million units sold. It's pretty incredible. Now, to be fair, it's not like the spreadsheet delivered those results. It was a team of people across various departments, from program management, marketing, media, studio, and production. You name it, they had it. This is a global effort with incredible people. There's also the technical layer. Yes, Google Sheet was the main master command file, but we also leveraged tools like Shopify, HubSpot, Zapier, Affirm, Figma, you name it. Modern businesses use multiple tools. That's just the reality of it. But to orchestrate it all and to get businesses going, operations still rely on spreadsheets today, and they can still deliver massive results. Some more highlights of this campaign. Again, massive scale, massive reach, millions of registrations, 43 million emails across 6 weeks, multiple live streams, 3.6 million in ad spend, 2,600 different ad variations across multiple channels, and surge staffing for sales and support to monitor the event up to 300. This is massive scale, all done on something that's very fragile. This event happens because of extraordinary talent and heroic effort at the individual level. Heroism doesn't scale, though. Systems do. So if a spreadsheet can power this, well, what can Smartsheet do? What can we do when we can move from coordinating resources, teams, and technology in a single fragile spreadsheet and move to something that actually moves with flow? So let's look at our playbooks. We're going to go through 3 playbooks, looking at their core operations and see how we can convert those into Smartsheet. We're going to try to cover the entire Smartsheet gamut, from core application features all the way up to premium applications. Our first playbook will look at communications tracking. Emails, SMS, direct mailers, how can we coordinate those communications? Our second playbook will focus on digital and physical assets and looking at inventory and fulfillment to the consumer bit. And finally, we'll roll it all together. How can we coordinate the entire event? For our first playbook, communications campaign tracking, here's what they used. It's pretty simple. A few columns, looking at subject line, channel, acquisition. That's it. And it is simple. And to reiterate, this did work. They were successful with this. But what's hidden underneath is a lot of failure modes that most people don't pay attention to. If we look at send date and timing, plus 30 minutes after registration, yes, it's marked as automated, but just because it's automated in a spreadsheet doesn't mean it's actually connected to the tools that send the automations out on the email side. That's not operating at scale. That's just giving a list of to-dos for other individuals. If we look at date and timing, we see a field that's just text. No date, no visual of when those things need to go out. Some of the data has time zones, others do not. For a global event, misaligning resources and communications can be deadly. And if you have something that's marked as manual, just because it's manual in a spreadsheet, still means someone else needs to go do it. And what we don't see is who needs to do it and when does it need to go out. When you have a master command file like a spreadsheet, all of your communications, all your cell history from different user groups happen in one place. If you start making errors and you want to revert back through version control because you have cloud history storage, well, you end up overwriting other people's work, and you don't know exactly where the mistake is made. You can't use a spreadsheet with multiple tabs for multiple departments to operate at scale, because what you're really managing is a message governance engine. What are we saying? Who needs to hear it? When does it go out? Who signs off on it? And how does it deploy? What we need is structure and clarity. just by simply converting that spreadsheet into Smartsheet for things like adding a contact column or a drop-down that has statuses that actually trigger to notifications. If a status changes, an alert sends directly to an owner. That owner gets notified. They can either approve or decline. If they approve it, we record dates, we do analytics off of it. If they decline, that communication can go back within Smartsheet or to other communication channels like Teams and Slack. If we need reminders set up in advance, we can proactively communicate when things are done. We can move from a system where we don't have to open the spreadsheet or have it open on our computer all day, every day, and check it every hour to make sure the things we need to do actually get done. We can proactively remind people what needs to get done. Furthermore, we can roll all this data up into a dashboard filtered by current user so the right users see exactly what they need to do and when they need to do it. Visualize it across Gantt view so we can see what dependencies are enabled across these multiple tasks. And if we want to find precisely where errors are made and where data is changed, leveraging something like highlight cell changes gives us that ability. We can see what changed across a specific time span and dive deeper to see the cell history. What changed, who did it, and what was the previous version of it. This gives us the ability to precisely find where errors were made and make the correction that we need to without disrupting other operational workflows. Dependencies become critical. If we have email 1 send on Tuesday, and email 1 send on Tuesday, email 2 send on Friday, and the email 1 date changes, well, in a spreadsheet, there's no communication with email 2. In Smartsheet, with dependencies enabled, if that date changes for email 1, the email 2 date gets pushed out, and the owner of email 2 gets notified right away that there's been a change to their timeline. They can proactively coordinate, reassess, and get the timeline corrected or updated to the new version. Either visualizing this in Gantt view, or visualizing it further in timeline view, leveraging the ability to categorize different timelines by channel. Email, SMS, direct mail, or uncategorized can show us what communications are going out when. And by rolling this visualization to see more detail for what users need. And that's one of the beauties of Smartsheet, is that whether it's grid, board, Gantt, or timeline, or many of the other views, we are looking at data we're looking at the same data through the different lenses that work for us. And we'll see a little bit more later how this works in subsequent playbooks. But for a team that has not only internal resources like in marketing, but external ad agencies, freelance contractors, affiliate partners, or sales support contractors, making sure you're working with the right data is critical. In a spreadsheet world, you're sharing access to everyone, building a copy of the spreadsheet, moving rows over, or just standing over their shoulder to make sure they're not accessing sensitive data. Within Smartsheet, we can leverage something like Dynamic View to securely provision limited views that users can access with edits to data, attachments, and comments, all while protecting the underlying security of the asset. We can also visualize this information as well. Calendar app gives us the same capabilities as Dynamic View, but the visual component as well. So for things like sending out messaging, you can visually see what communication is going out when and group it by those same categories: email, SMS, and direct mailer. And we can also view it between days, months, quarters, whatever you need. With all these different tools, integration can become critical as well. Data Shuttle gives us a great way to take our external systems and flow data in, either through automated API connections or through file uploads. Leveraging Unique Identifier gives us the ability to keep that data in sync across all channels. So if we want to pull an audience list, ad spend, you name it, trying to pull information within the Smartsheet and letting Smartsheet use its power to do the rest. And once that data is in Smartsheet, we can leverage something like DataMesh, or for those of you who use the new table view, column links to sync that data across multiple lenses without worrying about custom cross-sheet references or custom formulas to move that data. Simply setting up a source sheet and a target sheet to connect data gives you the keys you need to move data where it needs to go one time without having to duplicate re-entry or making sure that if the data is changed at its source location, you're getting the latest information up front and ready to go. And to do actual true automation, instead of just having a list of automation, leveraging something like Bridge to have the trigger within Smartsheet actually trigger the external action in an external platform. So if we have a list of emails that are going out at a specific time, that trigger sends over to Mailgun. Mailgun fires the information out to the end user. And we want to roll this information up to a nice clean view like a dashboard. Being able to leverage the progress of the developments of these communications like emails and SMS messaging, seeing what's launching this week, and even pulling data in from external tools to see the performance of that data can be critical. Seeing things like conversion rates give you the insights that you need. If we see that certain emails are converting at a higher rate, we can proactively look at that messaging and apply those changes to our SMS messaging to try to boost conversion. Or if we want to reallocate more time to more development on emails because they're performing better, executives can make the decision that, hey, we're going to pivot. We're going to remove some work from SMS and reprovision towards email campaigns because we're seeing them perform better. Also seeing work breakdown of different team members by those statuses, and also seeing the external capabilities from Dynamic View and Calendar app to make those edits from the dashboard. Not only can you use these separate applications, but you can unify them in a single view. This means that all users can leverage the software in one view. You still have that similar spreadsheet feel, but still have more dynamic capabilities, security, and flow of your data. What we're really talking about here is how do we move from manual work with statuses buried in tabs and move to something where we're asking better questions, not where are we at, who's doing what, and is this the latest? But trying to ask more proactive questions. How is it performing, and what changes do we need to make to get more performance unlocked? And this is an example of what that transformation can look like. Taking something that seems simple, a bunch of teams collaborating across other softwares within that spreadsheet, but moving to something that actually flows through different views, different technologies, into unified views. This is what working at scale can look like. And in Playbook 2, move to assets and fulfillment tracking. What we're looking at here, simple spreadsheet, very easy, very, very easy. Digital assets, hosting and delivery, deliverables, status, physical assets, that's it. When you have an extraordinary team, you can work hours on hours, late nights, whatever you need to get these things done. But when you want to work at scale and make sure things get done on time, you need something more. Some of these things are going to be repeating for multiple playbooks. Just transitioning to Smartsheet. Add a contact column. Add a username. It's tied to their email. That's going to trigger a whole bunch of automation unlocks. Adding a date column so you can visualize when things need to get done. Having a version control column, a priority column, so you can see what's important in your organization. All simple, easy wins that we can pull from Playbook 1 and pull forward into Playbook 2. But taking it further, when development of digital assets come into play, we can upload those attachments and leverage proofing. This gives us the ability to collaborate and mark up digital documents and make sure that the work that needs to get done gets called out, stored, documented, and still manage version control. And the beauty is if you're using a digital asset manager like Brandfolder, we can send that information directly to that tool. Because Brandfolder will give us the ability to have all our tools connected. If you use the digital asset manager connected to your external sites via Content Delivery Network or CDN, you can have your information developed in the tool of choice, uploaded to Smartsheet, collaborate, make your edits, get the approved version, send the approved version to Brandfolder, and Brandfolder already sends the latest version that's been approved by both legal and brand to your external sites. No more manual work, just connected flow of all your systems. Figma, HubSpot, and Shopify were some of the tools that this group used, and those integrate with Brandfolder as well. So in that same example of a user guide gets developed in Figma for the creative asset management or all the ad variations that get developed. Those ad variations get attached within Smartsheet in each individual row. Those rows go through proofing for markup, control. Once we hit the latest version, both approved by legal and brand, they're automatically connected to Brandfolder with those assets automatically connected to things like Shopify or HubSpot. Each of the physical assets go through a development cycle as well. Instead of having just one line item, having detailed checklists or subtasks of what needs to get done. Content finalized, legal review, delivery date confirmed, inventory. Each one of these steps rolling up to a master task to make sure that the product gets done on time. And even on the digital side, that same effort can be done again. Just because you have a list of redemption codes that need to go live on launch date doesn't mean you don't need to go through subsequent tasks to make sure they work properly. Getting codes generated, tested by QA, validated, signed off, all that stuff. These might seem simple steps that are obvious, but if they don't get done, it has real impact to your user base. If testing by QA gets completed, but no one validated against Shopify, you launch live, and people go to use these redemption codes, and they do not work. You're impacting your user base, you're impacting sales, and you're impacting user experience for future revenue. You need to make sure you're documenting all your tasks, making them complete, and seeing the progress that needs to get made. And you can do this through those multiple views we talked about earlier. Timeline view gives you the overview layout of all the steps that need to happen and by when. But if you have a user guide development that needs to get done within 2 weeks, what happens within those 2 weeks? Well, the developers might want to see a board view to manage that asset control from design, production, and testing. You can have the same data set live in the same sheet, but multiple different views. One managing the timeline, the other managing the actual asset development. And again, we can roll all this information up into dashboards. Leveraging a dashboard, we can pull in data from external sources to not only look at our current registration counts, but also what our forecasted registration looks like based on early bird sales. Combining this with inventory that's been produced at the warehouse, we can marry those two numbers together and forecast out what our inventory needs to be. By pulling data in via Data Shuttle, using DataMesh to sync that data across internal tools, we can roll it up to the dashboard. This gives us the ability to see if we have a surplus or gap for our inventory. If we have a surplus, great. We don't need to burn budget by a panicky gut feel that, hey, I'd just rather be safe and secure and make sure we have inventory on shelf if our customers need it. That's burning revenue you don't need to. And if you have a gap, you know it ahead of time, and you can work with the printer or the production unit to understand what lead time looks like to get more inventory. Seeing this data up front and making those decisions ahead of time ensures that you have the product you need to get on-time delivery to your clients. The faster you get your product to the clients, the faster, the better experience they have, the faster and easier it makes it feel, and the more likely they're going to be a repeat buyer. And again, it's the same transformation summary. Taking work where all the knowledge, all the flow lives in a group of extraordinary individuals and moving it to something where we don't have to worry about the nitty-gritty details. You can leverage automation, leverage technology to flow. Because really what we're looking at is taking the same assets, the same fulfillment process, but now making everything, making the assets findable, making sure everything's reliable, visible, and scalable. You can run the same playbook again, over and over again. And our third playbook is about the master event rollup. So to reiterate, this is a massive function, 10 different functional leads from project owners, marketing managers, media, sales support, technical infrastructure, studio setup, on-site facilities. This is a massive scale operation. So how do you coordinate it within Smartsheet? Well, if you're doing it in a spreadsheet, probably the best way is you have some really talented project managers who send multiple status update emails, have hour-long alignment meetings, and probably different executives pulling together slide decks and saying, all right, here's where we're at in this department. Send it to the executive, and by the time you fire it out, it doesn't matter. It's out of date. Leveraging Smartsheet, where you're always looking at real-time information, you can see a high-level timeline view that shows you what operations are doing, when they're doing it, and how do they coordinate with your other teams. If you have marketing ad campaigns that are going on, how does that stack up with your affiliate program in the sales org? If you're building out sales and customer support staff, when do you need to kick off those resources so that they're trained and ready to go prior to launch day? This all leads to resource management, one of the most critical things for event management and just operations in general. How can we get the right resources where they need to be at the right time? By leveraging resource management, we can look at all our organizations, look at the work they're assigned, and see where there's gaps or see where there's over-allocations. If we see over-allocations based on the work that we've entered in, lead up to the event staff, we know the resources we need to bring in. Whether it's sales support, additional marketing control, or studio setup, we want to make sure we have the right resources where they need to be. This gives us the current allocation of who's working on what, forecast the needs for when we need to surge, and capacity gaps to see are we under-resourced anywhere. Budget pacing and ad spend for something that did over $3.6 million in ad spend, ramping up to $250,000 a day, is one of the most critical operations businesses can face. Seeing how we're tracking daily spend versus targeting is key, but even more importantly, seeing how the results of those campaigns actually impact business needs. For instance, let's say your meta campaign's running and you get $8 cost per registration. But on TikTok, you're seeing $25 per registration. Well, in a spreadsheet world, you're pulling that data in, doing the analytics, getting a report to the executive, but maybe you see a change in TikTok and the spend changes around. But with Smartsheet, seeing that data up front, you're able to have an executive reallocate 20% of the budget from TikTok towards Meta. Making that decision could lead to 50,000 additional registrations. That's 1,000 sales, potentially. And at $100 per sale, it's $100,000 in revenue generated. All from being able to see the data, analyze it, make a decision, and that decision has immediate impact and value in the organization prior to launch. You don't have to do a post-mortem, you don't have to do a lessons learned for the next launch, you can do it real time with your current launch. And as you get closer to events, you want to make sure your systems are ready. So how do we ensure that? Looking at something like ad spend, ramping up to $250,000 a day, sending out 43 million emails is going to have major impact to things like reputation score. When that impact happens, you need to know upfront and have a backup plan and visually see what's going to happen. If you don't, you're either silent to your customers or you're spamming them. It's a critical failure point that we need to avoid. So seeing this information roll up in Smartsheet is going to give you that visual right in your face. Rather than in the other world, where that update lives in a status update email or in a Teams chat somewhere, and you got to go ask someone, hey, can you search this chat? I think I sent an update on it 2 weeks ago. Please find it. But leveraging something like Control Center gives us the ability to templatize these solutions. Each of these playbooks can be rolled together, standardized, optimized, and provisioned over and over again to make our systems better. This gives us the ability to take our work and improve it over and over again with small tweaks and efficiencies. The first playbook took 18 months of planning. Maybe the second one takes 9. Maybe the third one takes 6. You're able to update your delivery cycle over and over again because you have a system in place that you can continually work on and optimize. All 3 of these playbooks really lead to asking better questions at the end of the day. We want to move from the reactive questions to the proactive questions. Where can we get better? Where can we invest? Where can we do more? Not what went wrong, how do we fix it, and how do we do it better in the future? But to do all these playbooks, you really need to understand the communication because you all have visions of what the future can look like and the solutions you can build with tools like Smartsheet. But you have to get executive buy-in and you have to communicate the business value that these tools bring. Hopefully some of these show you what that looks like, but we want to tell the story so that they can feel it. Executives don't buy, this is so cool, look at all these things they can do. They buy, what's my return? And so we have 3 critical lenses for ROI. Quantity, where we can do more. Time, we can do it faster. And cost, we can either do it cheaper or more profitable. Quantity is pretty simple, but for a campaign with 2,600 ad variations, surge staffing of 300, and 3 live streams going on, what we really want to ask is, can we do more campaigns with a higher conversion rate? Can we do it with fewer errors? And can we make better decisions? This is really looking at, how do we calculate doing more in the business? If we did 1 campaign per year, can we do 2 or 3 campaigns per year? If we have a conversion rate percentage, can we see that conversion rate percentage increase because we were able to do more? That can be the difference for a quality-driven ROI. But for time, we want to do it faster. So to give you an example, say there's a holiday shopping season coming up, and you need to launch by October 1st. Well, if you're using spreadsheets and planning, and you're not coordinating correctly, maybe you miss that launch date. Maybe you launch on time, but maybe you're not as efficient. That launch takes 6 weeks. You end up launching November 1st. But if you have a system in place that can become a repeatable, a playbook within Smartsheet, maybe you launch in 2 weeks. You actually launch on October 1st. By launching on time, that gives you 4 additional weeks of revenue. That's major impact in the business. Not only that, let's say you wanted to launch a 2nd or 3rd campaign, you now have the ability to do so because you have a system in place that you can provision over and over again through tools like Control Center. So identify your time-sensitive initiatives. Is it a product launch window, a campaign, a compliance deadline? You name it. And try to ask questions like, what does 1 week earlier look like? For this group, 1 week of earlier market entry, again, if a launch that generated 45 million in 24 hours, 1 week earlier could be 5 to 10 million in revenue. Let's say the platform to deliver that was 100K. That's a 50 to 100 times ROI. Again, those costs will vary, but just launching 1 week earlier, which doesn't seem like much, can have substantial impact in an organization. And costs, can we do it cheaper? Well, we want to map current pain points to dollar values. So how much time do we spend in status meetings? How many launch delays have we had? How many errors reach customers? And how many projects do we decline because we lack capacity? Each one of these questions should look at the cost of not being able to execute on the next opportunity because there's some constraint within the business. And we do want to estimate this conservatively. But what's your launch worth? It might not be as much as you think. A lot of times we think these big, complicated solutions are going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they might not. There's a lot of simple, quick, easy wins that we can do within platforms like Smartsheet. So I like to pull the room and see how much do you think a launch like this could generate by just moving their system within Smartsheet. Do we think it's 50%? Should be about 50 million in ROI? 25%? 25 million? Okay, see a couple head shakes. 10%? 10 million? 5%? Okay, seeing more head shakes. What about 1%? A simple transition generating 1% return. What that looks like is 3.6 million units sold in 72 hours, with an average transaction of about $30 per unit, and total revenue of $105 million. Well, it's basic math. 1%, $1.05 million. So if we only saw a 1% return by moving our operations from Smartsheet, or from Google Sheets to Smartsheet, and then we say, hey, invest 1% of your recent launch. Let's build Smartsheet. Well, the first question is, well, how much does it cost? I don't know. Let's say we took a very vast, conservative ballpark estimate. For an operation like this that had 500 team members using all facets of Smartsheet, Brandfolder, resource management, control center, dynamic view, let's just say we just threw a bunch of bodies at it. Let's say we took 4,000 business plan members and say, you know what? I might not be able to get all the technology, but I can throw 4,000 business plan members at it. Well, at $19 per month, latest I've seen on Smartsheet's website, it's $228 per year, or $912,000. So even if all this time and effort that we put in just moving to the tool cost $912,000, just taking a 1% investment from the recent launch would make Smartsheet free. Actually, you'd get 138,000 left over. But to give you something that's a little more tangible, here's an example of a recent large enterprise client that invested in a playbook, one playbook to be clear, for Smartsheet to transform their operations. Initial investment for subscription costs, implementation, training, and maintenance came in about $275,000, and the expected benefits that became actual benefits were saving 40 hours per project for 100 projects per year, with their labor costs coming in at an average around $85. Their adoption rate for this tool was only 80%. There's still room to grow. Payback period, 15.2 months. This is one playbook and one return. Imagine if they did 2 or 3. Executives will get their money back a lot sooner, maybe 12 months, maybe 6 months, maybe less. So when trying to calculate your launch, think of different scenarios in your organization. Can we launch 1 week earlier? Can we prevent one major error in our system? Is there a team efficiency improvement that we've been lacking that we can now unlock? And can we enable repeatability in our systems? Some of these things won't exactly be 1% increments. They might be 10. They might be 50. But we want to find which scenarios can impact our work and where can we find the unlock for our business. In order to do this, we need to structure this all together and build a business case. So let's build a business case. Super simple and easy. You want to identify your launch, some high-value program in 6 to 12 months that's high value, complex, and repeatable. This is something where we want to see major impact in the organization, not just one time, but on a consistent basis. We want to quantify our current state, and we want to do this early. We want to document it honestly. How long does planning take? How many people are involved? What is our error rate? And what opportunities have we missed due to capacity constraints? We want to see where we're at today, what works, what doesn't work, because we want to project where we can go. And we want to be conservative. We're not going to say, hey, you know what, we're going to have a 300% reduction in planning. That's not realistic. Say 25. We need to start small. Error reduction rate. We're going to make fewer errors, but we're not going to make 0 errors. Nothing's perfect, but we need to be conservative that, hey, we do see improvements in these operations where we're making mistakes today. And if we see areas where we can increase capacity to do more, quantity, call it out. And then we just want to try to calculate a dollar impact. Again, use your numbers, revenue impact, cost avoidance, efficiency gains. We really just want to try to get a ballpark number of what the impact to the business can be and what the total value we would see. Because realistically, if we have our total value with a platform cost of 100, 150, maybe less or more, depending on your business case, we really just want to see if that total value is greater than the cost. And if you divide it by cost, you get a true essence of what the return can look like. Most business cases for the first year of adopting solutions like this and putting in a true playbook for their organization can see 3 to 10x ROI in year 1. And probably the last thing and the most important thing that most people miss are the intangibles, things that don't have dollar impacts. Risk reduction, knowledge retention, competitive advantage, employee satisfaction. These are things executives care about, but you really can't translate to a dollar amount. If you have less firefighting in an organization and the team's just happier with it, that does have measurable returns and output. It's just harder to document with physical details. And over time, the value can compound. In quarter 1, you're really just learning, you're documenting and building. You want to see impact fast, but you want to see it directionally. If you set your baseline on what your measurable gains are, that should exceed your effort, but you're not going to see 10, 20, 30% returns right away. If you do, great, that's fantastic. You're making transformational changes in your organizations, but large-scale changes take time. Quarter 1, you're learning. Quarter 2, you're refining, and then you start optimizing and scaling. After each quarter, you should see more and more improvements taking place so that by the end of year 1, you've proven the value of the product and you get budget approval. In year 2, you start expanding to more use cases, unlocking more playbooks, and that value multiplies. So Smartsheet can grow, and by year 3, it runs the business. But you need an operational framework to actually deliver results. It's one thing to list out the playbooks, see what's wrong, see what the improvement looks like, compound and project out the return of your value and build the business case. But you need a way to actually execute on it and deliver the results that you're forecasting. So I figured I'd just share with you and give you the that we use. Abraham Lincoln once had a quote, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." My team should know this by heart because I say it to them all the time. It's a 3-phase framework on how we go about solving problems. Sharpen, swing, sustain. We sharpen the axe, which is identify the target and design the solution. We swing with precision for implementation, and we sustain the forest for adoption. Sharpening the axe is really not about building. It's about understanding. It's about asking questions like, what are we actually trying to accomplish? What tools and processes exist today? And what does the ideal state look like? This is critical for business. These things don't get decided in 1-hour discovery sessions or a 30-minute kickoff call. You need true alignment with an organization. Whether it's internal or external, you need to set the target and get both parties aligned and oriented towards the target. Only then can you map out the specific task that you need to execute on to score the bullseye. Something like this should take 2 to 4 weeks. It's really in depth. You have to do this up front. You have to spend those first 4 hours sharpening the axe. It unlocks unknown risks and pulls forward executive decisions and executive mindsets on what they're looking for and make sure your internal teams are aligned towards the same target. By the end, your output should be a blueprint. This is where we're going. This is our roadmap. Maybe we have some pilot sheets of what the potential solution can look like at first so that we can design it for scale. And you should have that value forecast. What is the initial state where we're at today? What is the forecasted cost? And do we have alignment that the steps and plan we put in place will actually meet that cost? Swinging the axe is execution. This is where we can build and deploy. The thing is, you can move extremely fast here because you've put the effort in up front to have that sharp axe, to have that plan of attack. Provision playbooks in Smartsheet, set up automations, train the team. 4 to 8 weeks. That's it. By putting the time up front, you can move as fast as the team allows. To give you an example, our team recently did a 3-tier control center blueprint for an organization for sharpen and swing within 6 weeks. That's because we take the time and effort to map out all the solutions. You can too. It just needs to be systemic. You need to focus on the understanding part first and target and alignments with your groups. The output should be a live system, trained team, and the process validated. But the real work doesn't start until we get to adopting the solution. This happens right after go live. We want to measure our actual ROI against our forecast, figure out friction points in adoption, optimize workflows, build the next playbook, and create a center of excellence in your org. True ROI doesn't start until after we start going live. All the work we do up front gets the solution and tools in place. It builds the foundation of where you want to grow. But in order to do it, you need to have things in place to figure out why users aren't enabling with the product, adopting to use it correctly, and then figuring out how we can have a center of excellence to support them along the way. This is something that is ongoing, and quarterly check-ins are a great way to look at the past 90 days. How do we perform? What do we do well? What do we do wrong? And how can we change direction and improve the next 90 days? So like expanding capability, compounding the value that you're seeing, and starting to build some cultural transformation in organizations. It's not easy to do it. It's not easy to transition from doing it one way to doing it a new way. But these things do take time. But you have to set the value first. So overall, you can use spreadsheets. It builds foundation. But if you really want to scale operations and scale your business, Smartsheet's is a great tool to scale the forest. And a big question might be, can we keep doing this in spreadsheets? Well, yeah, you did. Of course you can. It works. It does work. But before you all go canceling Smartsheet and saying, hey, some guy named Abe told me to, Don't tell Raj. The question should be, what becomes possible when we don't have to? When your team isn't fighting version control, when your executives aren't waiting for manual status reports, when your QA process calculates errors and catches it before your customer sees them, it's when you're no longer chopping down trees, but you're cultivating a forest of growth. So, here's what I'd like everyone to do. Identify your lunch. The next 6 to 12 months. Figure out operations within your organization that would benefit from pulling a playbook together, and try to map to some of these. It's going to be custom. You're going to have ideas from Playbook 1 and Playbook 2. Pull your own system together. Show each step of the way of the certain processes in your organization that would benefit from a new structured governance within Smartsheet. And then try to calculate what 1% of that cost would be worth. It might be enough. I can't tell you the number of times where these low-hanging fruit wins for minor playbooks deliver tremendous value for organizations. Start with 1%. Scale up to 10. It's a lot easier to go from 1 to 10 than it is to go from 100 down to 10. But this is Engage. And with Smartsheet Engage, you want something that needs to feel engaging. Bad pun. I would love for everyone to go back and watch this talk over and over again and go through the slides and get a ton of value out of it, but that's not realistic. So we covered 3 playbooks today. We covered an ROI framework that I hope you can put to use right away. But what I didn't mention is that there's a 4th playbook. Ooh. An ROI playbook. Over 40 pages of tips and tricks on how to build a business case and not cover 3 lenses of ROI, but 6. Things like enablement, adoption, risk and quality, all the tools and tricks that you need to know to help your operations today. As a thank you for all of you for taking the time out of your busy schedule, all of you get access to this for the low, low price of free. All you have to do is go down to the Foursquare Solutions booth, you scan a QR code, you get a digital copy absolutely free. You don't have to do anything. We already have your contact information, don't worry. We'll spam you later, but you get it completely free. Our team will take care of it. I truly hope this is beneficial to you. I did want to take a moment, because we do have some time, just to read the first page of the book, because I truly live this stuff day in and day out, and I really hope it's valuable to you. So why does this exist? ROI gets thrown around in boardrooms like everyone understands it. But for the people who actually fix problems and build systems and see around corners, ROI or value can feel abstract. And personally, I learned that the hard way. Back in 2013, our engineering team ran everything out of Excel. And it worked. Until it didn't. When our company invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into an ERP system with project management add-on, things ended up getting slower. We didn't need more software. We needed something scalable, something that actually made sense for how we worked. And that's when I stumbled across Smartsheet, and it felt like Excel 2.0. Within months, we turned our once functional spreadsheets into scalable workflows, but to get executives on board and stop pouring money into a system that was holding us back, I had to do more than build. I had to calculate, communicate, and compound ROI. That process worked, and this playbook was born from it. This isn't theory. This is supposed to be a field manual for every builder who knows their solution works but struggles to prove its value, and inside you'll learn how to define what success really means, measure what matters most, communicate ROI with confidence, and build momentum that compounds over time. Because sometimes the thing that needs selling isn't the tool. It's your belief in it. So with that, I truly hope this was valuable for you. We do have some extra time, so I'd be happy to take any questions if any of you have them. But all you have to do is go downstairs to the Foursquare Solutions booth, booth 704. Someone from my team will get you the QR code to scan and download. And yeah, I just want to say thank you. Please take a moment to provide the survey feedback as well. Tell me what you like, what you didn't like. If this was the best session, go tell Raj. If this was the worst session, don't tell Raj, but tell me. So then I can make it better and we can provide more and more value when we do these talks next year. Thank you, everyone.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that walkthrough. And if you found this helpful, here's what I'd suggest next. In the description below, we've linked our ROI Playbook. It's the exact framework we use with clients to create measurable wins in 30 days or less. Inside, you'll see how to pick the right workflow, quantify wasted time or effort, design a 30-day improvement plan, and put a real dollar value on the impact. So whether you work with us or not, totally fine. You can use that framework immediately. And if you'd like help applying it to your environment, there's also a link to book a short ROI sprint where we'll sketch one workflow and quantify the opportunity together. Thanks again for watching, and if this resonated, consider subscribing. Our goal this year is to share more practical strategy, systems thinking, and ROI-driven execution tips and tricks for you. We'll see you in the next one.